we're going to be live here in a second. I think.
Hello, everybody. It's Harris Feldman here. Welcome to the Tellman and Feldman Show. I just said I'm Harris Feldman. I don't know why. And that over there is
Tellman. Welcome to the Tellman and Feldman Show.
We are being joined today by the great Tom Beal, known as the Simplifier by all of his friends and fans. And probably his family, too. They probably call him the Simplifier, too. Welcome to the Tellman and Feldman Show, Tom.
Excited to be here. My longtime friends, Tellman and Harris Feldman. I love the Tellman and Feldman Show. I've plugged in a few times, and I'm excited to be here as a guest and go down memory lane and share some insights. I have an ulterior motive. The ulterior motive is to help the people that are watching this have some breakthroughs, have some aha moments, get some hope, get some clarity so that they, too, can turn their dreams into reality from our brief discussion today.
Cool. Awesome. Well, that sounds like a very, very good promise. We should probably try to do that on every show. I mean, really. So today is my son's birthday. He's 18. It's the first birthday that I'm not with him. So I've been lot of crying and tears. And then I went to the gym. And the guy after the gym, he's like, "Hi, how you doing?" And I wanted to say a lot better than when I got here because it does definitely help. But then I just snap back into it as well. So let's get to work, so I don't have to think about my son being in another country right now. But anyway, it's a good feeling. You have once you identify what it actually is, which it's just like love, you know. And you know, when you're nostalgic or you miss somebody or something that much, that's really what it is, and your body or mind doesn't know what to do with it. But anyway,
well, this might be a perfect segue like into my history and my journey. We'll get into all the long time ago when I first crossed paths with Corey Rudel's Internet Marketing Center in 2001, 2002 timeframe. Bought a Tom Antion course on how to speak on stage all those years ago.
Tom Antion. Oh,
1999. Yeah. 1999. My first internet marketing product was How to Speak on Stage from Tom Antion, and then the Internet Marketing Center with Corey Rudel. Those are my first forays into trying to figure out in my corporate world scenarios, how can I use this new internet thing? And it's kind of funny. If we think back, that was 1999, 2000, 2001-ish. That's kind of where we are now with ChatGPT and this AI. Like, it's kind of a very similar place. Like, wow, this is not a passing trend. This is monumental. It's going to change the way business is done. And right. We all saw that back in the late 90s, in the early 2000s. And there was very limited amount of information out there. You had to do some really big searching and digging to find anything. And you had, you know, the early events are key throughout my career. Events, the big seminar back in the day, the underground events by Yannick Silver, and a few others. But the one that kicked it off for me was January 2005. And I'm not sure if you guys, this I think is the where the community of the internet marketing came together, from individual islands to coming together at this event in January 2005. It was in Detroit, put on by Stephen Pierce, called Unleash Your Marketing Genius. And that's where I ended up becoming a president of one of the friends that I met there, and also worked with another friend I met there in January 2005. So that's where I met Mike Filsame. That's where Rich Sheffrin shared his story in his first presentation to the internet marketing community from that stage. And that's where all these years later, all those amazing clients that he lists off, most of them he got at that event, Unleash Your Marketing Genius. So Brad Fallon.
I was there. I feel like I feel like that was one of my early. Maybe I went to big seminar before that or something, but I think I was at that event.
Yep. So
I know I wasn't. I definitely was not, because I didn't really come along until later in 2005. And it's interesting because you mentioned Rich Sheffrin, and I remember my reality of Rich Sheffrin was I had never heard of him, and then I feel like maybe 2007 or something, he was like all of a sudden from my world, from my perspective, I should say, came from nowhere. So It's really good for me to know that, because I was like, who is this? Like, because he was, you know, he's great, but I'm like, who's this guy coming from? I guess corporate, right? He had a pretty big.
Rich would be another good person for us to interview. I love Rich Sheffrin because I met Rich Sheffrin in
hypnosis
in Virginia
for hypnosis,
way before internet stuff.
Yeah.
He had the biggest positive changes hypnosis franchise in the world. It was a $10 million hypnosis weight loss clinic in New York City, 3 offices, I think. And it was called Dynamic Changes. It was the only one of the franchise that had its own different name. And he was like a marketing genius. And I was a lowly hypnosis employee, $12.50 an hour. I was hypnotizing people to lose weight left and right. And for a Positive Changes hypnosis franchise, which is where I got trained in hypnosis in Brattleboro, Vermont. And so I was asked to go to this conference because I was like committed to becoming a great hypnotist. So my employer was like, dude, you should come to Virginia or whatever. So I was like, all right. And I saw Rich Schefren speak from stage down there. And I think I introduced myself, but that was like, it was interesting, but inconsequential ultimately. Right. And then,
could you give us an impersonation of yourself introducing yourself to Rich Schefren back then? Like, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just hello, Mr. Schefren. Can I? No, I'm just.
No, dude, because I was studying.
You sound so young. You sound like you must have been like 20.
Yeah, I was like 20. Well, I became a hypnotist in the year 2000, and so it would have been like 2001 probably. And I was born in 1977. Whatever. So I was in my early 20s.
You're young, man. I'm 72 here.
I'm older.
I'm older.
So look, so Tom.
So at that event, something you said, Telman. So you met Rich years later. So here I'm at this event, January 2005. Rich had been doing things with the hypnotist. That was a huge corporate business, brick and mortar business that he had going. That kind of, I think 9/11/01 put the kibosh to that. That pulled the carpet out from under his and many other businesses that were brick and mortar, especially in New York City. So amazing business. 9/11 happens. There goes that whole $10 business gone. And he rebounded, and he actually was working with Jay Abraham a lot back in those hypnosis days, as well as Dan Kennedy. So he was tied in with Dan Kennedy and Jay Abraham way back in the hypnosis days. And then at that event, Unleash Your Marketing Genius, January 2005, Jay Abraham was there.
Well, actually, this is an important point. Positive Changes was entirely direct response driven. Okay, I didn't know it at the time. I didn't understand. You know what I mean? It was my first exposure to direct response. But like, I guess I had bought tiny ads, big profits from Kevin Trudeau. Tiny classified ads. I had bought that. That was actually my first experience. But like first, I was surrounded by direct response marketing, and I hated it. And Positive Changes, like I was so put off by it. I was like, oh, this stuff sucks. Little did I know what was going to happen.
But, and you mentioned Kevin Trudeau, Don Lepre. I was Don Lepre. I bought his course about all that.
Kevin Trudeau was Mega Memory. Don Lepre was Tiny Ads. Yeah,
okay,
you're right.
Don Lepre. Yep, Don Lepre. Yep, Tiny Ads. Yep. The king of infomercials, Don Lepre, who ended up actually taking his own life from the 3-letter agencies coming after him. And he that was when he did the greatest vitamin in the world. And they came after him and said it was, that basically they were going to not only take all his money, all his things, put him in jail for 50 plus years, and ended up taking it. It was crazy. And he wrote a letter. Me and my buddy read that letter. He posted online. He's like, that's a suicide. That's a suicide note. Yeah. And he ended up taking his own life. He said, look, I've done nothing but try to do my best and help the world. And, now they're coming after me, taking everything, threatening me with prison. And it's just, well, and I guess we're kind of recognizing that now, how the world isn't what we thought it was growing up. I think a lot of the veils are being pulled back, and we're seeing that the Wizard of Oz is just not what we thought it was. But anyhow,
that's true. That's true. Like transparency is so, it's not only, I mean, it's always been important, but now it's like essential because like, if you're all smoke and mirrors, man, people will just cut right through you. So, okay. Well, Tom, so you've been like, when did you first really start studying marketing? What year?
Well, and I guess this is a great point to also mention, like Telman, you mentioned you were the hypnotist back in your 20s, right? Everyone has a backstory. Rich has his backstory. Mike Filsame has his backstory. Telman has his backstory. Harris has his backstory. My backstory was Well, I was like, and this isn't to say it to say I had it worse than everybody, but this is kind of important for others watching, because it doesn't really matter where you came from. And not to say I had it worse, but I was born a teenager, 17-year-old mother, 19-year-old father, raised around 4 divorces and 6 marriages, went to 9 different schools by 8th grade. And a lot of chaos, alcoholism, abuse, neglect, poverty, like just massive amounts of chaos and stuff. But what that led me to become was someone who was always in new schools. So I just tried to be a good athlete. So I was a good wrestler. I was a good bicycle rider. I got into bicycle freestyling, became a national bicycle champion in a few years, so sports was my avenue to, hey, and basically in hypnosis terms, you'll get this, Telman, hey, am I good enough now? Am I lovable now? So I won this tournament. Am I lovable now? Am I good enough? See me? Right. So it was that, which is a negative reason to move forward, but it helped me learn how to reach the top, be number one and all that fun stuff. And it led into business. So in business, first of all, business came after I went in the Marine Corps. And similarly, am I good enough? I became the honor man out of my Marine Corps boot camp platoon out of Parris Island, South Carolina. So I've been a high performer.
So you have a history as a high performer,
correct,
especially in physical related stuff.
Correct. Yeah. And I know you do in running and stuff like that. Like
that's interesting though. That's a really interesting characteristic and personality trait, regardless of how it was formed or where it comes from. Like it's an interesting piece to the puzzle, right?
Yes. So everyone has their own past, right? So that's all said. Just say, look, I don't know where you are watching this, but whatever your childhood was, whether you were born into a wealthy family, like there's no judgment into what your upbringing was, but regardless of what your upbringing was, there's going to be some of that internal dialogue that we all have as, am I good enough? Am I worthy? Am I lovable?
Right.
And that goes right back to Telman, your expertise of the hypnosis. And Harris, I mean, you're also a great magician. Magicians don't just become great magicians by reading a book. Like it takes the effort, it takes the time, it takes the dedication. So similar to sports,
not just a magician though, but a magician and a comedian and a performer.
Correct.
Right. Exactly. Like we all have these different ways that we get attention or
let's make sure nobody mistakes. I'm not a real magician. Just I don't want the hate mail, I mean, people get it's black magic.
Right.
No, it's just comedy magic.
Harris is a dark wizard.
No. Behind the scene. Telman.
Do you not see the pentagram in blood on his forehead? He didn't wipe it off, dude. I can see it from here.
I'm so good. I can't make him quiet about it. Oh. Go ahead, Tom. Yeah. So we've got our backgrounds.
So the sports led to me when I got into business. First of all, everything's kind of unfolds amazingly. And I know we've all kind of delved into how, as we're now older and wiser, how we can look back and point to it all makes sense in retrospect. But in the moment, it's hard to see where this is going. So I remember being at college at SUNY Brockport and going into a class and seeing a little flyer on the desk saying, make $40 an hour, call this number. I called it. It was for Cutco Cutlery. It was
we have
Vector Marketing.
Cutco crossover.
And so that small, seemingly small marketing card, direct marketing on the desk led me to go into the Vector Marketing job application process. And at the end of that, you actually have to pay money. Once they accept you, you got to pay money.
I did it.
And I became a number one sales rep in my region and was rocking it. And here's the thing, Harris and Telman, you'll get a kick out of this. When I was the number one rep for the location and the region, the people that weren't doing well, the manager was like, hey, go ride with Tom and see how he's doing. And then he'd have me go ride with those people. And here's the epiphany. You guys are going to love this. The people that would ride with me be like, wait a minute, you're just doing exactly what the script tells us to do. Yeah. And then I'd ride with them like, you're not doing a thing that the script is telling you to do. Like, there's a big problem.
Following the instructions.
Right. Of course, you're like, this is a proven, refined script that really works when you use it. And this applies to, here we are talking internet marketing. A lot of people try to go create their own way, and that's good and it's possible.
Hold on, though. This is so important, man.
Yeah.
This is so important because I also was in Cutco. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, I still use my original demo set every day. I haven't even sent it to get sharpened. I probably should. But like it survived my divorce. Like the whole, I literally use it to cook and I was not the winning sales guy at all, and I was not the guy that was willing to follow the system, right? Like I bucked that. And I also lived in an area and was going to school in an area that was anti anything even remotely like that. So I was marketing the wrong crowd to begin with. But
anti knives.
I went to Marlborough College, which is a 300-person ultra liberal backwoods college on back dirt roads, built from an early 1900s farm at the top of a mountain.
Kind of rural. So you're just, I mean, they cook. I mean, they use knives to cook, but they don't they don't need no expensive knives.
We're dealing with like philosophy professors and people that travel around to Tibet and shit, like very, very well educated.
They don't fall for that. You thought they didn't fall for it. But
they're not buying shit from infomercials. Like they're not, they weren't buying from a prefab knife door-to-door salesman. That wasn't happening. So anyway, the point is that like you're right, Tom. And like I was not successful in Cutco for exactly that reason. I had no ability to set my ego and my personality aside in order to just like follow the script.
Tom, I'm curious. Did you ever cross paths with Hal Elrod? Were you in this at the same time he was?
No.
Do you know who that is?
I'm older than he is. Yeah, I know.
Oh, you're older than Hal Elrod.
I'm 52. Hal's pretty young. I'll be 52 this month. So.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I guess. I mean, he's pretty much practically died twice, so I can't believe we're both older than him.
Right.
Yeah. I'll take our stories over his any day. Anyway, let's let you get back to yours.
Well, I've had my near-death experience, and I also almost died a couple of Easters ago as well. So I'm pushing my 9 lives to the limit as well. So we'll get to that. But yeah, so in Cutco, that gave me that taste at a young age, earning $800 in a week, like 800, and sometimes $500 in a sale, right? $800 a week was my average at like 18 years old. I'm like, man, I love this. However,
this is before you joined the Marines.
Yes, before I joined the Marines.
Yeah, okay. All right.
So I ended up getting in a car accident and lost my vehicle, which lost me the ability to continue. Like, and coming from nothing, the other aspect that's very important for y'all watching, I came from nothing, and I totally can relate to people that are sports athletes or actors or whomever that come from nothing and get a lot of money, and then their career ends and they're left with nothing. I totally get that, because without financial literacy, it doesn't matter how much you earn, you'll get rid of it. And this goes back to, Telman, how worthy we feel. If you don't feel worthy of what is coming in, you will get rid of it as quickly as possible. And my hand is raised. People are like, if I'm sitting there listening to how could someone that earned $50 million be broke? I'm like, it's actually not that hard. You can probably do it too.
Hard. No, it's not. It's
pretty simple.
Mean, they say that millionaires who still have it had to make it and lose it on an average of 7 times before they learned how to keep it.
Good, because I'm on my 8th restart. So my 8th restart. So good. I'm done with all that bullshit. Now it's time to really
about time.
I'm like,
oh no, I need more. Oh no, I don't want any more failure.
Not as similar to Rich's 9/11 losing his whole business from that, but similar carpets pulled where he woke up one morning after putting all those years of work in, like, what happened? And one of them was the credit card slap that we like 2008 that took, that anyhow. So eight restarts, and now I'm finally, my financial literacy is dialed in where I now am worthy of what's to come, and my best is yet to come. So anyhow, where was I going with that? Oh, so at young age. So when I lost the car and I lost the ability to drive around and get the appointments, now I'm kind of in depression. In a depressed mode. And long story short, my dad's like, hey, I got this guy who, because I wasn't working, I didn't have a job. He's like, I got this guy at this factory. So I ended up going from being a national bicycle champion, signing autographs, have sponsors, to that was a carpet that got pulled out because my mother, in the 4 divorces and 6 marriages, the last divorce, she went through a mental breakdown. And she was our manager of the team. So the team dissolved. So there goes all the sponsorships. There goes all all that stuff. So that was one. And so here I am, former national champion, former top salesperson, now working in a factory from 3 to 11 p.m. with earplugs in,
right,
on a machine producing stuff, right? And I was miserable. And then so finally got a job at the mall. And at the mall, a Marine Corps recruiter came by, and I wasn't the type, even in high school, to even miss a class. I never even once imagined going to the military. I didn't miss a class to go take any Army or Marine, anything. But the Marine Corps recruiter asked me, "Are you happy?"
So you were a good student.
Yes.
In school.
Yeah, I was a very good student. Yeah.
What kind of grades did you get?
In math, my first 3 years in high school, 100, 100, 100 on the finals. And then I got a 99 on my senior year one. Yeah.
Okay. So you're also an academic high performer, not just a sports high performer, but you're also an academic high performer.
Right.
Yep. Interesting. Yep. Okay, cool.
So the Marine Corps recruiter hit me with the ultimate sales pitch. Are you happy? And I was at that vulnerable moment.
He knew you weren't happy. Could see that on your face a mile away before he even found out your name. Like,
so I'm working 3 to 11 shift.
Are you happy?
Yeah. And I said, you know what? I'm generally a happy person, but I'm not really happy right now. He's like, do you like to travel? I said, I love to travel. He's like, did you play any sports? I said, I wrestled. He's like, were you good at it? I said, pretty damn good. He's like, how'd you like to wrestle for the Marine Corps, travel in the world? I'm like, sign me up. And that was
that's a solid pitch right there.
Solid lie. Like FTC didn't come after his ass. Right. But so I'm in the Marine. That was in November, and I quit my jobs, and I'm in boot camp in January '93. Yeah. So January '93 to December of '96, I was in the United States Marine Corps, and also had in retrospect, it makes sense. I also had at the same time Tom Cruise movie was out, A Few Good Men. That was all based about hazing, right? Remember the famous speech, "You can't handle the truth," like Jack Nicholson. That was a time in the Marine Corps. That was the end of '94. And I also was in a hazing incident. There was this hazing incident that I was there to make sure it didn't get out of control, but then it got brought up the flag. And here I was a top Marine, the honor man out of boot camp, honor man out of my MOS school, and up for the MESEP program. MESEP program is they take enlisted person out, send you to college, put you back into officer candidate training, and then you come back as an officer. Very few Marines get that. I was up for that as well. So here I am. I'm the top Marine on the base, Marine Corps Air Station, Yuma, Arizona, and one of 8 people that are standing in front of the lieutenant colonel. And I was a corporal about ready to pick up meritorious sergeant, and they busted me from corporal to lance corporal. And so that was the big epiphany for me. All the attaboys disappeared with one uh-oh. And even though I've justified my reason for being there was to make sure it didn't get out of control, and I did make sure it didn't get out of control, I still chose to be there. So I told the lieutenant colonel, hey, I'll accept the responsibility. I chose to be there to make sure it didn't get out of control. And if you guys feel that was a wrong choice, then I'll accept that responsibility. But it also led me from, in my mind, being a lifer, to realizing it's time for me to get out and figure out something else. So did my 4 years, got my honorable discharge, and they begged me to try to stay at the end, but I just told them no, did what was mine to do. Now it's time to move on.
Not the game you want to keep playing. Yep.
Then I went to college on the GI Bill at the community college in upstate New York, Finger Lakes Community College. And once that was, actually I was still in college, I got a job at a Geneva Ford selling cars. So I was selling cars while I'm in college, and I still had my Cutco experience along with some other stuff, and I was doing pretty well selling cars.
I once tried to create with my friend Jim Katsoulis, who's a hypnotist. Mm-hmm. We tried to create something called the auto selling system, where we would go into car dealerships and tell them that we would hypnotize their salespeople to increase their car sales.
Nice.
Which I had actually done successfully with one of my weight loss clients that was a car salesman. He became the #1 sales guy overnight. Totally blew his income up. And that was like my first experience doing wealth hypnosis with someone.
Yep.
And but for the love of God, we could not sell this to the guys that owned the car dealerships, because we were like in our early 20s.
Hey, you're not a hot girl. We'd always joke with the owners of the car dealerships. Hot girls, they get as much time with the owner as needed. Any dude,
my God,
you don't get. I mean, that's why do you think the pharmaceutical companies, they wouldn't hire us to be pharmaceutical reps? They hire women.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I don't really deal with that world too much. But
well, tell me, you didn't have your direct response chops yet.
Yeah,
it's true.
Yep. So the car, and then that led me to copier sales. And so I did car sales. I did copier sales. I was a top copier salesperson. And then out of the blue, friend moved to North Carolina. I get a call from this $1 billion publishing company saying, hey, we heard you're good at selling copiers. We want you to consider being the publisher of the North Carolina Homebook. I asked the obvious question, what the hell does selling copiers have to do with being the publisher of the North Carolina Homebook? And they said, well, if you can sell copiers, you can sell advertisements. So I went from selling cars to copiers to advertisements of the North Carolina Homebook. Was a resource it was brand new, and it was going to be published, and it was for anyone looking to build, remodel, or decorate their $1 million plus home in Charlotte, Greensboro, or Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina. So I quit my job after just buying my first duplex and living in the upper and just unpacked and renting out the lower. And I thought I was on top of the world. Like, man, I'm living for free.
Right.
I just finished unpacking, and I get this job offer, and it narrowed down to 2 people. And the guy that was hiring, he said, I'm in a tough spot. We took like 1,000 applicants, and we're down to 2. He's like, it's between you and this other dude who's got 20 years in the publishing industry. I said, man, I see your decision as the most easy decision you could ever have. I feel sorry for that guy who's got the 20 years experience, because out of 100,000 people, I'm the only one that he can't beat. So I said, you got the easiest decision in the world, but I feel sorry for that guy, but he's got 20 years. He'll be fine wherever he goes. So I got hired, and I went down there and did that. And that was in July of 2001. 2 months later, September 11th happened, 2001, which shut the world down. And we can all reflect back where we were when that happened. I was just 2 months into this new opportunity, which had 4 months to do it. So talking with the high-end builders, architects, interior designers, landscape architects, et cetera, and selling advertising into this amazing home book. But after September 11th, the whole selling, people didn't know what was going to happen next, right? So still, anyhow, so did that, then ended up going back to copier sales. And then that's where I started searching for, how can I use the internet to help me as I was a copier salesman, then I got promoted to the branch manager. Like, how can I help?
What year did you look toward the internet as a way of increasing your sales?
Sounds like 2002, 3, something like that.
I was a publisher. That was in 2001. I was looking when I was a publisher of the home book, and then also dug more into it after that. So 1999, I got the Time Antion course. And then I got shortly thereafter the Internet Marketing Center course from Corey Rudel, which, by the way, it's outdated, but it's still very powerful. I have the 2 blue binders in my storage unit. I used to have an office that had all my books and stuff. I don't have it, but 2 blue binders are still very pertinent if you strip away Yahoo and all the other.
It's funny when you said very powerful, and then you're like, I still got the two books. You're like, and I go in my garage and I put my hands on the books and I feel the power.
Yes, exactly.
That's what went through my head for a minute there. But
I've got the power. I've got the power.
The foundations are all the same. Like, that's a lot of things that keeps coming up as we talk to people, is that, like, ultimately, we call it direct response marketing, and it goes back to whatever. But so whatever was in the Corey Rudel course that you're referring to, that is powerful, is probably just, here's how direct response works. Here's how here's how you get visitors to come to your offer, and here's how you go from that step to the next step to the next step. I don't have that one. Yep. And it's interesting as you talk about this stuff, and I'll let you get back to it in just a second, is I'll be honest with you, something that comes up for me is, and maybe you address this, is like, I don't have a lot of, like, I was number 1 at this and I was the fastest biker, and my story which I don't tell very often, is more like, I do lots of things and quit eventually, or move on to the next thing, or what have you. But my story, different than both of you guys, I'm realizing, is I got into internet marketing way before you guys, really. I worked for a company called Galacticom, which sold the major BBS, you guys probably know Alan Bechtold, who's passed away. I knew him back in the 1990s. Wow. He had a book called, I'll stop at this, but he put on a conference for BBS. He had a magazine for BBSs, and a BBS, for anybody that doesn't know what I'm talking about, is basically it was the internet before the internet. You would dial into like a local little internet, and there'd be hobbyists that would have software and hardware literally sitting in their house. You would dial in with your phone modem, and if there was 8 of you on this guy's computer at once, you could talk to each other. So anyway, my involvement in online marketing predates the web in because of that, you know, and it's I don't know, it's interesting to me. I've never this is one of the things that I have here is I wrote down tell your story. I've heard you I've heard you talk a few times, and I've heard some of the pieces of your story, so I know that you know that I want to eventually talk to you about like how did you even get this also dialed in, you know?
Well, it's a great distinction. It's something that I've been told to not brag about the achievements, right? And it's not bragging, it's just stating. But what's been fulfilling to me is being able to help people that haven't been a top wrestler, runner, you know, bicyclist. Like, so the stuff is transferable to people who want it, right? So, and by the way, tell your story. That's the first 3 words of a 9-word formula. Here's the 9-word formula that you could study from Tony Robbins.
I already wrote the first 3. Look at that. Tell
your story, share your results, sell your system. 9 words. Mike Phil-Simon and I would sit down with a blank piece of paper. Okay, for this offer, what's our story? What are our results? What's the system? Tell your story, share your results, sell your system. And those 9 words came from actually one of my first coaches back when I was a copier salesperson. This is another key. I engaged with a coach. His name was Mike Littman. And
Mike Littman.
My first paid coach. And at the time, this is in 2002, 2003, he came with a $4,000, $4,000 to engage. I didn't have $400, right? I was month to month. And so somehow, some way, I got the $4,000 and engaged with him in that initial coaching scenario. Anyhow, that's
is this the same Mike Littman who him and his brother had the
solo ad business?
Yep.
I worked with them. I mean, I was like I don't know, not a contract worker, not an employee.
Are they still in the game?
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean,
different games.
Differently, right.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
They are the game, basically. They don't broker traffic anymore. They have their own, basically. I would say.
So that 9-word formula came from Mike Littman and Jason Oman. Jason Oman.
Oh, Jason Oman. Yeah. Conversations with Millionaires.
Yes. Yep. So they co-wrote that book, Conversations with Millionaires, but they also had another report that was out at the time before that talked about those 3 words. They studied all Tony Robbins and Jim Rohn, everybody. And there's like, those are the 9 words. So that 9-word formula, I got to give credit where credit's due. That was Mike Littman and Jason Oman.
Yeah.
And that's a very powerful lesson to learn. But funny enough, when I heard that, I was like, but I don't have a story. And this is a common thing. And because my story is just unique to me and it's just what I do. Telling the story is unique to him. This is what he does. Harris is just unique to you and what you do. But from our own perspective, we don't think we have a story. And so and that's where I break it down. Like, listen, you have 3 things that separate you from everyone else in your niche: your personality, your experience, and your perspective. Your personality, your experience, and your perspective combined in telling your story and sharing your results lead to people wanting to purchase your system. Because the funny thing that I realized as a copier sales manager, I had bought thousands of dollars worth of Nightingale Conant products back in 2001.
Right.
Because let's just call it what it is. There wasn't YouTube, there wasn't Instagram, there wasn't Facebook, there wasn't any of the devices or tools. We didn't have the smartphones until 2006, 2007.
But for a very long time, Nightingale Conant was the primary publisher of information products.
Yes.
I bought numerous Tony Robbins things, I think, from Nightingale. Maybe Jay Abraham had a Nightingale Conant program.
Joe Vitale had one.
Nightingale Conant used to be like the publishing house for info products.
If you weren't in Amway, I bought half of my info products from Dexter Yeager's, whatever that organization was that he figured out, oh, wait, I can make money selling the cassette tapes instead of soap.
Right.
So I had Nightingale Conant products. So I'd be listen, my role as a sales manager is to help you become better at sales. So I got this Brian Tracy sales course that I purchased for hundreds of dollars from Nightingale Conant. I'm going to give it to you. I got this Tony Robbins course. I'm going to give it to you. And I got this Tony Robbins. Oh, and Zig Ziglar. I had a whole bunch of Zig Ziglar that I purchased from it as well. And the funny thing, this was an eye opener for me. In the people that are there selling copiers, the more they sell, the more income they make. I give them this stuff, And then the next day I'm like, hey, how was it? I hadn't listened to it yet. And I had to really like ask. It was days, if not close to a week before they even listened. And then I'm like, okay, great. You listened. What'd you think? Tony Robbins, man, that's all hype. I couldn't listen to him for more than 5 minutes. Brian Tracy, the guy I can't listen. I'd rather watch paint dry than listen to Brian Tracy. And then Zig, 5 minutes of that country accent, I had enough. I'm like, and I tried selling them on like, you don't understand that there's gold in there. You learn, you not suffer through it, but take the best, leave the rest. You'll learn some things that can help you improve your sales skills, but you aren't willing to do it, right? And that's the big epiphany.
Here's the thing, dude. Yeah, like I've got to say, as I listen to you speak, and I've said this before, but I'm reminded, like I've found almost all of my best students, not all, almost all of my best students were top athletes and or some other form of high performer in their life.
Because they know they got to put the work in.
We're fucking hungry to win.
Yep. Right.
And are willing to shut up and follow somebody's lead and master the system, like with master the system. Like, and for whatever reason, I was able to do that with running. Most of the other areas and I'm able to do it with marketing. A lot of other areas of my life, I've just been unwilling to follow somebody else's system because of my own creativity or ego or opinion gets in the way. But like when I'm able to like lock myself into something simple and just go after it, it's like very hard. And so it's not the only way to win or the only way to succeed, but in terms of having people invest thousands of dollars in themselves in a training program and a coaching program and a boot camp in whatever, or consulting, and then have the ability to follow through no matter how long it takes and no matter how much work it takes, that's not a factor. And so I've just found that perspective, it creates a certain level of like tenacity that is it's hard to instill that in someone, but occasionally you can inspire it in someone, I think, by leading by example. But like,
and I will circle back, and Mike Littman taught me a lot of great things, and I learned a lot of cool stuff. He had another saying, you're either consistent or non-existent. That was a pretty good one. You're either consistent or non-existent. That's a good one. But he also was the one that told me, if you're serious about this next path, because I built a consulting company while I was a copier salesperson called the Sales Champion. So I was training people how to be better salespeople based upon my history of being a top salesperson. Cool. He's like, well, if you're serious about this, you need to cut the cord with the copier company. And meanwhile, I'm the branch manager of the copier company. And that's I now teach it as today money, tomorrow money, and contribution. You need your today money to fund the tomorrow money project that you have. So he basically told me to quit the today money, and if I'm serious, and I did that, and I went through this pain of learning very hard lessons that was not the right choice for me. Some people can do it. It wasn't right.
Or at least at that point in time, it didn't work out. Like, in that situation.
Right.
Is it good advice? I mean, not obviously you're saying it wasn't for you, but like obviously you don't think it's good advice if you have today money, tomorrow money, and what was the third one? Because I haven't gotten that yet. Contribution. Yeah, I do that sometimes. Yeah. But sometimes I need to work on my today money too much. Right. But we all
the answer to that, Harris, is if you have some savings, if you're not month to month, and you have that's a whole different thing. However,
but then your today money, because I've experienced this with trying to become a professional performer. I had today money, and I was able to more than dabble and perform a lot and push it forward a lot. But that entertainers don't make a lot of money very quickly unless they become, super top of their game, basically. So it takes time to get there. So you can't ignore your today money. I totally agree with that.
Exactly. And I actually had to remind one of our mutual friends, I won't state his name here, but he had produced tens of millions of dollars, and he was into big, this was 06, 07, 08, pushing his new video platform, and YouTube came out in the midst of that. And he had given up on his today money and was all in on tomorrow. And he's like, don't worry, I got enough.
Right.
But his enough went and gone.
Yeah.
And I kept reminding him, like, dude, do not neglect your today money.
Yeah.
And just, this may become $1 billion company, or it may become nothing. Well, it ended up becoming nothing.
Yeah.
And so if you're too married to the idea and you're so engrossed in it that you lose that perspective or focus, and let's be honest, you have to be delusional. I mean, Russell talked me into going to a wrestling tournament 2 years ago. And I went, and we're talking on the mat, and I'm telling him how, like, listen, I didn't step on the mat once. I hit the road. I ran like 50 miles in preparation for it. So my gas was better than normal, but I hadn't stepped on a mat in like 20 years. And I said, listen, Russell, call me delusional, but I think I'm going to kick some people's ass. Like, I'm going out there to win. And he's like, you know what? I probably wouldn't have produced the results I produce if I wasn't delusional. You have to have that level of delusion for the ones that win. So I get that individual's delusion, but also when you have enough people like caring about you to poke holes, you have to have that discernment to, like, family and friends are going to try to squash your dreams, not because they don't believe you can't do it. They're fearful of you getting hurt. They're fearful of you losing. They're fearful of you being broke and down and out and depressed and all that. So you have to have that discernment of your wise friends. Like, hey, listen, I'm not here to squash your dreams, but here's some holes I want to poke. And then I'll share another story. I won't name this individual as well, but he had produced $100+ million in a few years. And I saw that his delusion, he was delusional, but it was not in the Russell's delusion is, you're one funnel away. I can help people learn marketing, and one funnel can change everything. And that's not delusional. That's true. This other person, what he felt like he basically believed anybody could do what these other people were doing. I said, listen, and I said, all the people that are the top have a background of being millionaire marketers. These people, the mom and pop, the grandma, the grandpa, who don't have any clue, can't follow the path that all these other people have.
Right.
And not just because maybe they have the money, but most don't, but they don't have the chops. They don't have the know-how. They don't have the discernment. So
or the belief in themselves.
Or the belief. Right.
Yeah.
Which is the foundation, which is absolute. I am good enough. I am worthy. I am lovable. We all exactly where we are in this whole world based on how worthy we feel at this current moment. And that can be a heart-wrenching situation, but I used to deny that. No, I'm worth more, but we're exactly at the level that we feel we're worth, because, if a crazy circumstance were to occur and our comfort zone right now was depleted, we would get uncomfortable and replete it back to where it is. Like,
right back to the comfort zone, and you're gonna sit in there for a while.
Yep.
It's true.
That's interesting. How do you push past the comfort zone? Whether it's financial, like I relate to it financially because I've done it before, where I push up to this to. I mean, and my comfort zone is higher than I think most people make, but at the same time, I've noticed that, because then I'm like, okay, I'm comfortable, like, with the today money. Now let me go be a performer or whatever, because I'm following a passion. But then also, like, with my weight loss, like I've had a big struggle in my life. I've lost a lot of weight, and I've gained it back, and I lost it, and I gained it back, and I lost it, and I gained it back. And like right now, the way I relate to this is like I still bounce a little bit in a more healthy zone than I have in the past, because I want to push down below even the bottom of my fluctuation point. But it's still very difficult. Like, I think that maybe it's because the thing that got you there to the comfort zone is not the thing that's going to get you to push past the comfort zone. And it was monumental. Right now, I've lost 55, 60 pounds, depending on the week.
And kept it off for a really long time.
And I've kept it off for a long time. I'm very successful with that. And I will, I have changed. When I see fat pictures of myself, I don't relate to that person anymore. That's a big thing. But when I'm at the bottom of this little comfort zone that I'm in right now, that's the lowest that's like what I was when I was 20 years old, So like, there's some big mental things that most personal trainers don't have the capability so far to help me get past. And I'm like, whatever, I'm eating 1,600 calories a day. That's not a lot. I'm a short guy, and I'm older, so that's pushing against it. But anyway, yeah, what do you like? I guess I've answered my own question. The thing that got you to your comfort zone, you need other, I guess we have to change our mindset, but then it's also a new set of not just beliefs, but actions maybe that get you to push past.
Our thoughts, our words, our actions are key. And you broke it down. When I come in, most people bring me in to help them grow their results. And when I do an assessment, I do a success intake form, I get to know, they open up to me in levels they don't even open up to psychiatrists or therapists. And it's all confidential. But that saves us hours of getting to know each other. So when we get on the phone, I have an idea where they are, where they're looking to go in their health, in their finances, and in their relationships, because all of them work together. It's like a triangle. Like the health is the foundation. Your health is off. And it's not just the reflection in the mirror. It's your mental, your emotional, your spiritual health, mental, emotional, spiritual health, along with physical, right? So those all have to be in order, because we all have friends that are jacked and ripped, but they're not emotionally grounded, you know, and it's not just the reflection in the mirror, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. And the finances, you already heard, today money, tomorrow money, contribution, your relationships, your personal relationships, your people, your professional relationships, and your social relationships. You only have 24 hours of time, so you can't give everybody equal amount of time. You have to know who your people are and discern wisely where to invest that time, with whom. But anyhow, getting back to that comfort zone, it really also boils back to the words, your thoughts, your words, and your actions go back to what Telman said, your initial belief. Can you really do it? Like, and so I've gone from 196 pounds to 168 pounds back in 2010 after a breakup back then. And I said, it's time I'm gonna get my head in order. So I'm gonna start working out. And I got proper sleep. I was drinking a lot of water. I started working out, and I ate. So there's really not many elements to it, but I also took a little time to find someone that had the body type similar to me, but was just more ripped. And I put my head on that, and I would look at that every day. And I ended up turning into that, right? So there's that outside motivation that in the beginning may not feel like, man, is it ever going to happen? But that happened within 60 days, right? So it can happen very quickly with the dedication, with the commitment, and with the consistency.
Yeah, there's another piece to this that is actually pretty easy to implement that I think makes a big, big difference. For me, it does, which is quite simply choose who you're spending time with, literally. Mm-hmm. So, for example, I haven't been running fast a lot. I've been running really consistently for a long time with my running partner, Ivan. And we run like 3 times a week together. What's up, Ivan, if you're seeing this? And I went and I ran a race this last weekend in one of the next towns over that was put together by a guy named Jack. And Jack put an awesome race on. It's called the Beat the Manure 5K. And I hadn't run a 5K through the woods at like top speed in a while. And so I did. And I placed first in my age division. I got 8th overall out of about 100 runners or so. And like, I was not in race shape, and so I felt pretty good about that. But the thing that I've discovered about Jack is that Jack is fast. He's a speed demon. And he's like around my age, maybe a little older. I'm not quite sure, but he's fast. Mm-hmm. And he lives in the next town over. We just kind of, we've known about each other, but we just kind of became friends. And I'm like, I should start training with Jack. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he'll say yes, but he probably will. And like what will happen is I'm going to get faster as a result of spending 1 or 2 days a week training with Jack, period. I'm going to get faster, and I'm probably going to enter more races. And that will probably reignite my competitive spirit more in other areas of my life, all because this is true with weight loss. It's true with alcohol. Like, fortunately, most of my friends don't drink anymore. I currently drink alcohol, and I probably drink a little too frequently. And so it's great that I'm spending a lot of time with basically all of my friends have quit drinking for various reasons. And so it makes it
well, and think of the influence that you have. I mean, I can speak for myself, like the influence that I've had on my kids without saying a freaking word to them for the last 2 years. Like they are like, my daughter goes to the gym every day. She's 19. She's not a let me go to the gym every day type of person. And my son, like, you know, for a while was keeping track of his foods in an app. I didn't say, Hudson, keep track of your foods in an app.
Just lead by example.
You know, and that like that's the most powerful thing that we're doing. You talk about the people that are around us, but then what we do for the people that we care about that we're around as well. And and it's hard to connect to that. Like you had talked about before, Tom, like, you know, it's difficult to connect the dots backwards, right? I mean, it's easy to connect the dot backwards, but you don't really connect the dots forward. You don't really say, oh, if I do this, it's going to have this positive impact on the people that I care about. And that's been the most amazing part of it. I have not a joke, but a joke premise that I tell that that's along these lines that you know, if you want to predict what your income will be in the next couple of years, just look at the income of your 5 closest friends.
Right.
And about 5 years ago, I changed my lifestyle quite a bit to where I was performing in stand-up comedy rooms. So my 5 closest friends became a bunch of broke comedians. And it works in reverse as well, guys.
Right. Yeah, but this is so important, right? And so, like, who are you collaborating with? Who are you working with? You know, what are you working toward? Like, are you working with someone who, is that is giving as much as you? Are you pushing all the time? Are you trying to pull them along? Are you encouraging to each other in whatever capacity, whether it's a workout partner or whether it's a study partner for college, you know, that you're trying to get a good grade in a class, or whether you're trying to get in better shape or make more money, or like even you know what, even if you're like dating and you're hanging out with like other guys or other women, and like are you hanging out with people that are cool, or people that like and who represent something that you want to become, or people that are just kind of like a shit show? You know, like, think about it.
Be choosy with who you surround yourself with. Yes.
In every capacity. It doesn't mean don't surround yourself with people. It means surround yourself with people that impress you, that like you want to become more like, because that's probably what's going to happen.
It's so funny to hear that from a bunch of middle-aged guys. And it's like we're talking to ourselves. We're not talking to our kids about that, but we are obviously like,
we're talking to ourselves 100%. It's like, it's easy to hang out with people who are just like you or who don't hold you accountable. Because, like, do we really want to be held more accountable than we ought? No, that sucks. Like, it's very uncomfortable when somebody just like gives you brutal, honest feedback that you really don't want to hear, yet you're gonna hear it again, right? Like, that's hard. For me,
it's not comfortable, but you want people that push you in all areas. And this isn't in a judgmental way either. I want to point that out. Like, there's a saying that I heard a while ago. I don't know where I heard it, but it goes like this. And I got a tight turn right outside my amazing view here, but they honk the horn occasionally, so you may have heard that. So the saying is this: I am a king among kings, not a king among inferior beings. So you can still love and appreciate people, but you also can recognize the energy they bring and the drive and the commitment they have. I can still love them and wish them well and spend a certain amount of time with them, but I'm going to be very cautious and choosy with who I spend a majority of my time with. And as Kelman and Harris said, it's in all areas of life: health, relationships, finances. And I was the unknown syndicate member. So the fun part about that is working with people. I put it in alphabetical order: Andy Jenkins, Brad Fallon, Brendan Burchard, Dean Jackson, Eben Pagan, Ed Dale, Frank Kern, Jason Potash, Jeff Mulligan, Jeff Johnson, Jeff Walker, John Reese, Mike Filsane, Perry Belcher, Ryan Dice, Tom Beal, and Trey Smith. When you're working with people that are creating miracles, it takes the smaller goals, like it doubles them. Like, it's like, why am I focused on 10,000 when they just did 1 million in a week? Like, it puts things in perspective. When you have friends that are producing financial results that are just staggering, it helps step up your vision. It helps steps up what's possible and your belief in what is capable and possible for you. So financially, find some people, and this is where you have to have some skills. You have to have some way to kind of work your way into where you aren't there sucking all the energy out. You're there contributing in some way, shape, or form, right? Because no high group of people that are producing ridiculously amazing financial results are going to let anybody and everybody in. So how and where can you, with your unique personality, experience, and perspective, contribute value to those people? And that actually circles back to where we left off with that event in January 2005. Most all those people were at that event in January 2005 in Detroit called Unleash Your Marketing Genius. And I became friends with a lot of them then. And in essence, Harris introduced me as the Simplifier. And Harris, you'll love this story too. So when I got out of corporate world, and Mike Littman, remember he told me, like, if you're serious, cut the cord. I was like, hey, you know what? I've been the top Marine. I've been a top wrestler. I've been a national bicycle champion. I'm gonna be the fastest rise to the top ever. Well, what happened is I learned that all those skills had nothing to do with being an entrepreneur, and I skidded on the pavement in confusion and wondering, like, why? What is going on here? Like, this is not how I normally can figure things out and move forward. And here's the biggest thing I'm going to share. The biggest thing that I heard from Brian Tracy and others. I actually met Brian Tracy and I told him, I said, listen, I'm not the only, I'm probably not the only person who misinterpreted one of the things you taught, but your teaching self-made millionaire cost me about 5 years of my life. Because when I heard self-made millionaire, I said, damn right. If it's going to be, it's up to me. I'm going to learn it all. Graphic design, copy, this, that, everything. I'm going to learn it all. I'm a self-made millionaire. But then I heard years into studying Brian Tracy, he had a team of 40 people. And that blew my, wait a second. That's not a self-made millionaire. That's a team of 40 people. So I told him, I said, listen, I know I misinterpreted it, but my misinterpretation, trying to do it all myself, cost me about 5 years of traction because I suck at graphics. I suck, bring in people. And then you get in with Alex Mondosian. I met Alex at that event. He was actually January 2005. He was speaking there. And he was like, look, I don't know how to do any of the tech stuff. Like, I don't want to learn. Like, I have people that do that for me. So do what you're great at and bring in the people that can do the other stuff. Don't try to do it all. Get a team together and build. And you don't have to have a team like the daggum, who was the Hammer, MC Hammer. You don't have to have an MC Hammer team of all your friends and family. Like, get a small, lean and mean team that can get the job done for you. And now with all the special tools that we have, circling back to where the tools were back in 2001 to 2005, they were non-existent. Like, you had to also learn HTML, also know how to FTP. I mean, all these different things.
Set up a server if you wanted to collaborate with anybody. Yeah. Well, Tom, but what's really interesting about that is what I'm hearing is that you got so for me, when I hear I never thought self-made millionaire meant, I do it myself all alone. Right. But all of your successes were that, obviously you had a coach, I'm sure, that helped you race. You had sales managers and you had giants whose shoulders you could get information from, to become a better salesperson. And you had a script that you listened to. But ultimately, if it is to be, it was up to me. And then when you got into entrepreneurship, you found out that you needed to collaborate, is Telman and I's magic word lately, but you needed to work with other people, even if the team nowadays 2, 3, 4, 5 people, but you don't even have to, you don't have to hire them. We get pieces of them, which is really great. And yes, technology makes it easier and helps it move along faster. But without other people, as an entrepreneur, you're really just, you're not. We say solopreneur, but there's to me there's no real. That's another misnomer, right? Even like I think of myself generally as a solopreneur, and sometimes I've had partners, so we were whatever. But I've always had people. Whenever it gets to a successful point, you always have people helping you get it to the successful point.
Yep. You nailed it. You nailed it, Harris. From my history, I just, if it's going to be, it's up to me. Damn right. I'm going to be a self-made millionaire. Watch, I'm going to set a record. And now I'm just scraping and not making any progress because I'm trying to do it all, not bringing in the proper people. Yep.
Right.
Yeah. And so I had that epiphany. And after that was about 2002, 2003-ish. 2005 was the live event. And then now I'm friends with people. Well, actually, I forgot this part. I also was the president of a company I started with Jim Kelly, the Hall of Fame quarterback from the Buffalo Bills. So that was around 2002 to 2005 as well. So when I went to those events, I was talking about cool things because we were planning we had a cool company and we had big plans, but his son died. And that kind of threw the whole the company out the window. But we had plans to have celebrity events at his home in Virginia. and bring in a lot of the top NFL players, a lot of the top baseball, basketball players, some actors, some singers. And it was going to be an elite event, about 10 grand a person type of stuff. But I had some cool things to chat with these people who were doing great stuff online. And so the conversations kicked in and friendships began. And so I had a list of friends that were already millionaires in the internet marketing space. And this is where I heard from Mark Victor Hansen in one of his books and one of his studies. I was studying his work. He's like, we live in the day and age. And I heard this back in 2004-ish. We live in a day and age where one relationship can change your financial future and everything, right? You're one person away from changing your financial situation.
Yeah. One right. connection at the right time in the right place can like change the whole game. So, if you take care of it.
And if you have value that can contribute, right? It's not like they're just going to have you tag along, right?
So, I want to throw something about the value piece. Is obviously
your value before you jump in. Your value is your personality, your experience, and your perspective, right? So that's your value that you bring. You right. Incorporated, right? So that's the value. Owning you and recognizing that you do have value.
That's the key, right? Yeah, and so. I know that a lot of people can feel intimidated about the idea of going into a room filled with people that are more successful than them at blank. Doesn't matter what the topic is, right? It's like if you're a noob and you don't actually have any credibility and you're like meeting all these people, and especially if you're not like a particularly outgoing, articulate, or really good at making friends, right? It can be challenged. And what I would suggest to people is go and volunteer at your local food shelter.
Yes.
Like go, and if you go to church, go and like help set up ahead of time. If you're involved in a local church community, go and volunteer consistently for months in some sort of a place where your help is readily accepted, and find out how you can contribute to a group.
Yep.
Just in general, are you a leader? Are you a support person? Are you good with the details? Are you good with, dealing with crises? What's your deal? Really get clear on how you're good at contributing, especially in a group that needs your help, right? So that when you enter another group of people who might be in incredible shape or might be financially successful, or when you enter a group of incredibly attractive people that you're hoping to date or something, like rather than feeling so nervous and out of place, you actually have some internal awareness around how you can contribute in any group, right? So, very important.
You're going to gain such a level of fulfillment in that as well. Like, and that's why I have today money, tomorrow money, and contribution. Contribution isn't just the money; it's your time, it's your energy. Time. Let's just call it what it is. Time is our most precious and ever fleeting asset. Right. I mean, I lost my mother at 52 years old back in 2007. 2009, I lost my father at 56 years old, both diagnosed and gone of cancer like that within weeks. And I had my own near-death experience on September 11th, 1998, where I was in a single car accident in a country road in upstate New York, rolled 4 times, was ejected from the sunroof, laying in a field for dead, and had the bright white light near-death experience. I was up there confused, like, what's going on? And I see someone lying in a field, and I focus in, I see that it's me, and I'm all confused. I'm wondering what's going on. I see my sisters at my funeral crying, and that was massive pain for me. And then something or someone came and put their arm around me, and all the pain went away, and it was the ultimate homecoming, like welcome home. And we turned 180 degrees, and the huge doors are open, and we're walking towards the doors. Halfway there, I said, "Stop! This isn't how it's supposed to end. I know you had more for me to accomplish. Send me back." And I woke up. I'd been helicopter lifted from that field in upstate New York. Woke up in the hospital with a respirator breathing for me, and the doctors and nurses in intensive care. Once I had severe head trauma, so I couldn't speak. Plus, I had aphasia. I couldn't talk logically. So they told me, you may never walk or talk again with the severe head trauma I had and the nerve damage in my leg. And y'all have seen me since we crossed paths in 2005. Many people heard the story. You guys may not have, but you can't tell that I had drop foot, and you can tell I am able to speak. I went to some wrestling tournaments, won some wrestling tournaments since then. I birthed 2 children. My son is now 22. My daughter's 19. And I've been on stages and helped, at this point, probably close to 100,000 plus people face to face over the almost 2 decades I've been in this world. And I did have more to accomplish. And I still feel that there's more to come. And the reason I share that with people is, look, I wish I could reach out and press a button on you so you could have the same perspective I have after my near-death experience. It's like I have an S on my chest. Like, I'm immune to death until I'm not. And if you really think about it, we all fall into that category. We're immune to death until we're not. So that doesn't mean I'm going to go jump off the deck here. It means use your proper discernment to hopefully live to 100 years plus. But when it's your time, it's your time. Yeah. And there's that aspect. And then I live my life fully and unapologetically. I am me, F you. I am me, F you. Fully and unapologetically, and how others might interpret it. I'm me, F you. I don't worry about what other people have to say, because there's going to be a lot of things said. No matter how you help people, some won't appreciate it or will have bad things to say. So I'm me, fully and unapologetically. And people are going to say what they're going to say, and it can still hurt, but you can process it and move on. And the whole adage is SW4. I think Jack Canfield came up with this. Some will, some won't. So what? Someone's waiting. So in anything you do, we could be handing $100 bills out. Some will love it, some won't. So what? Someone's waiting. You know, all you do, there's going to be people of all categories. Just be you, fully and unapologetically. Know that you're here for a purpose. You're here, and also you kind of may know what your purpose is, and you may, like I have in certain chapters of my life, kind of been hiding, kind of been not out there fully and unapologetically. And I can say I'm actually coming out of one of those chapters right now. I moved here to St. Thomas about a year and 4 months ago after a breakup of 12 years. And that was my regrounding, lick my wounds, figure out who am I, where am I going? And I'm coming out of that shell. And you, hopefully watching this, are coming out of your shell, because I can tell you this, your best is yet to come. Like, you're here plugging into this tells me you're in the top 1 to 2% of people, because most people are watching cat videos or stupid shit online. You're here digging into the brain trust that we have here with Tellman, myself, and Harris Fellman, Tellman and Fellman show. Okay. And I congratulate you for that. Like, that's what it takes. That's what I was doing in the 1990s with my Nightingale Conant stuff. People be going out to the bars, my buddies, like, no, I'm staying home studying. Like, studying? What the hell are you studying? Like, some stuff, like, to help me be a better person, like help me be a better businessman. Like, that's it. So you're here watching this. That tells me you're on the right path, regardless of where you are. And also, I think it's important. A lot of people put their identity to their financial results, right? Like, and they're puffing their chest when they're doing real well, and then they're wanting to damn near kill themselves. And let's just actually talk about that. Like, there are some entrepreneurs that have taken their lives because of financial difficulties. So try to detach and just, what's mine to do? What's mine to do now with my health, my relationships, my finances? And if you do what's yours to do with consistency, you're going to become the healthiest version of you. You're going to become the happiest, joyous version of you. You're going to become the wealthiest version of you, one step and one day at a time. One of the things that I try to help people understand is 2 of the most important conversations you can have. One is with you of 20 years ago. What would you, and we're kind of around the 9/11 time, right? We're a little past 20 years, but what would you tell yourself around 9/11/01? And I've had that conversation, and I kind of comforted myself, like, hey, you'll get through this. Like, right now you got this tough thing going on, but guess what? You're going to make it, and just keep persevering, one step at one time. And then also pick the self of you that's the best version, the healthiest, the most fit, the most mentally aware, the most financially successful that you can envision. And have a conversation, have that person 20 years from now. So I'm 51, almost 52. So have my 72-year-old self come to me.
That's right.
And I did have this conversation. He's like, listen, you're on the right path. You have some things you can improve on, this, and this, but you're on the right path. Continually discern what's yours to do. One step at a time, you'll get here. Trust the process. Doesn't happen overnight, but it goes back to that Zig Ziglar quote. You can have everything in life you want. You simply help enough others get what they want. Right. Sure. And just be that person, fully and unapologetically. You're going to light some sparks. You're going to, tell your story, share your results, sell your system. What is your system? What can you sell? What can you offer? Who can you offer it to? And with all the training that's out there, we don't have to go buy the thousands of dollars in Nightingale Conant like I had to years ago, decades ago. You can go to YouTube. You can go to the variety of different insights that are available to you. Are waiting, but it's you discerning what's the best use of your most precious, never fleeting asset at a time. And I'll end this diatribe with lack of focus, lack of clarity. Lack of clarity is the root of all failure. Lack of clarity is the root of all failure. A lot of, in the journeys when I look back, when I was the bicycle champion, when I was a top wrestler, when I was a top salesperson, I was clear. When I was a top, internet marketer, working with Mike Filsaime, working with Rich Sheffrin, I was clear on what was mine to do. And as long as you're clear on it, now you can actually do the things.
You can make some progress. Yeah. That's the thing.
If you're not clear, you're just wandering around. Which way do I go? Well, either way will get you there because you don't know where you're going, right? Uber's a perfect example. Where am I and where are you going?
Right.
That's what it needs to know. And you need to know that for yourself and your health, your relationships, your finances. And as long as you have clarity, now you can take steps to get closer. And guess what? With new information, the destination can change. But it's up to you to ask, hey, with this new information that came in, does that change the destination a little, or is it still the same? Right. And in the Marine Corps, they teach you improvise, adapt, and overcome. There's always going to be challenges. Guess what? No level of success eliminates anybody from challenges. Matter of fact, the rap song "More Money, More Problems" is absolutely true.
Yep. It's absolutely true. 100%. Yeah. The more success you have, the more obstacles you'll have. That's it.
Yep. And I've seen recently, or what I guess over the years too, like when something that I've noticed is that people don't have a goal. Like people don't have a BHAG, if you will, a big, hairy, audacious goal. But if they don't have something that they're going for, because we're creating our reality in every moment. And I don't mean this. I do also mean this in a spiritual way, but I also, even in a pragmatic way, we're given choices to make every second of every day, and we're doing this and we're trying. But if we don't know where we're going, then I'm not happy with where I am. Well, why not? Mm-hmm. Just go ahead. Why don't you do that? Why don't you just be happy with where you are if you don't know where you want to go anyway?
Right. Right.
And that's actually a great advice too, is to learn gratitude and to learn to be happy with what you have and be content with where you are, because anybody that's watching this is probably wealthier than 90% of the world population. Maybe 95% of the world population. Yeah.
So
what is that?
Summarize it. You're not dead yet. You're not dead yet. You're not dead yet. You're not living up to your potential yet. And that's it. So gratitude is key. Here comes a big truck outside. Perfect.
Man, I have such a hard time with gratitude, guys. Like, I'm so much better at it now than I was years ago, but I can't tell you how much feedback I've received from both family members and going through the adult dating phase of my life that I've gone through the last few years. I like, you hear the same feedback over and over, and it's just like, you just don't appreciate what you've got. And I really struggle with that. I'm always looking to greener pastures, and
on this better, call, when Tom mentioned that Jim Kelly's son died,
yes,
I was instantly thankful and grateful that my kid, who is having his birthday today, is somewhere else, is healthy and alive. And obviously that's one of the things that I am grateful for all the time, when even if I'm forcing myself in the morning to what am I grateful for? And then I go crazy with gratitude sometimes. And sometimes it is an amazing freaking feeling just to be thankful for the road, that the sidewalk that you're able to walk on, and the people that made the sidewalk. And it's so and you can't stay sad about something when you're being grateful.
Gratitude. No,
you could go back to being sad. You got don't worry. You got another 23 hours in the day, but
I need to practice it more.
Do it every morning, man. Just do.
And I feel that, Telman, as a top wrestler, top bicyclist, at least myself, I would beat myself up a lot. I know I'm better. I'm capable of more. I can go faster. I can do. I just would beat myself up, regardless of what level I achieve.
Right.
Better.
Yeah. Right? It's never enough.
Right. And I kind of I heard someone say, would you ever be such an asshole to a friend like that, or a coaching client? Like there's a certain level of accountability that you want to hold, but would you be an asshole to a coaching client at the level you're being an asshole to yourself? And hopefully my answer is no.
Yeah, hopefully not, unless you're under a great deal of stress.
Right. And so this actually ties into another thing that I teach, and it's funny because right outside my window is the Caribbean, right? I'm here in St. Thomas, and it's a beautiful view, but there's also just a few months ago now, Bezos' $500 million yacht was there, as well as Geffen, the music mogul. Geffen's $500 million yacht. So I took a selfie with two yachts behind me with $1 billion in total value. And I said, listen, when I was growing up, I wasn't, you heard the chaos I was raised around. So I didn't have much religious grounding. And I did hear that, your body is a temple, but I didn't know what the hell a temple was. Sure. But guess what? We know what a nice boat is. We know what a nice plane, a nice house is. Yeah. This is the vehicle, right? So here's the thing I'll pose to you, Telman and Harris, and also everyone else on here. Steve Jobs, we all are thankful for the work and the craziness that he was crazy, and he was a selfish, delusional MFer, if you know his story. But we're thankful and using his tools right now. But let me ask you this: your vehicle, all of our vehicles, your vehicle, all your vehicles watching this, whether live or replay, if Steve Jobs could rent your vehicle, because we know we can go rent a yacht, we can go rent a plane, we can go rent a nice car, we can go rent a house. This vehicle, if Steve Jobs could rent your vehicle, how much would he rent it for one day? The answer is all. If he could, all $60+ billion for one day in your vehicle, regardless, as long as you got mental capacity. Like when I had aphasia, I could think stuff, but I couldn't speak it. That he wouldn't want to pay for that. Like can I think and can I speak? Can I fog a mirror and can I think and can I speak? If so, that's how much. He can't. So if we can go rent these nice boats, we can go rent cars and homes, and they're high price. Our vehicle is the most desired vehicle in the universe, if you really think about it. And we're sitting in that. We're like that little soul in our mind here, controlling this vehicle. It took us years to learn how to control this vehicle. And so just put that in perspective. So I didn't know what a temple was, but I know what a nice car, a nice house, a nice boat is. Our vehicle of our body is given to us at birth free, and we neglect it. I treat it like shit for numerous decades. Still, I'm 51. I still treat it like shit on occasion. Like we wouldn't treat our car or our boat or our house in that manner. Why are we not taking care? You are the owner and caretaker of this. Right. And just like that big yachts, they have a whole staff of people taking care of it. You use your discernment. What type of staff you need around you to guide you on taking care of your vehicle in the proper way. Right. Mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Because this is, in my opinion, the most amazing vehicle in the universe. Self-healing. I mean, but it's our duty to step up as that owner and operator of it, to be the caretaker, and that means, you don't have to, we don't have to do anything. Whenever I say none of us have to do anything. We can choose to do a billion things. It's up to you to get clear on where am I and where am I wanting to go, and what makes the most step for what's mine to do right now. It's a continual discernment. What's mine to do now? And I'm going to actually throw this in. I was privy to workaholism for many, many years, probably decades. And so when I had kids, and when I heard the question, what's the best use of my time right now? I always thought it had to be a revenue producing activity. Right. And it wasn't until I had the freeing moment to say, you know what? That's not true when it's time for me to be a dad. That's not true when it's time to be the spouse. That's not true when it's time. You got to know which hat is on right now. Like, so what's mine to do is discerning all the different hats and roles that you have, discerning what that is. And sometimes it's like, you know what? It's time for me to close everything down and go for a walk, go out to dinner with my son, my daughter, whatever that is. Use your discernment in all those variety of hats that you wear as the caretaker of yourself, which is the first and foremost responsibility, owner and caretaker, and the other hats come right there as well.
Well, listen, Tom, this has been really great. We're well over our agreed upon and allotted time with you. We could definitely talk to you all day. I am getting. If the audience isn't getting anything, or if there's an audience at all, who knows right now? But if they're not getting anything out of it, they're not listening. To be honest, because I'm personally getting a lot out of it, which is why we've kind of taken our eye off of the clock because I'm absorbing all of this and it's helping me as well. And I guess that's kind of the point, right? Everybody at every stage of their life can always use a little bit of reminders and guidance, right? So how can people get more of that from you? Since you showed us that you have a book, and you mentioned that you might, you say tell your story, share your results, and sell your system. I presume you must have a system of some sort that you started to talk a little bit about that. So why don't we get down to that, and then we can maybe let you go and talk to you another time.
Sure. Well, just to piggyback on what you said, most everything I say and teach is mostly for myself. Like I teach it like I'm talking to me. Like, and it's one of those things like we might be the best shoemaker, but we might not have the best shoes on our feet. Right. So I'm really good at helping people get from where they are to where they want to be. And it's time for me to step back and like, okay, if I was coaching me, what would I say to myself of where are you going? So a lot of the things that I teach, very similar to actually Rich Sheffrin's first viral ebook he put out. He's like, I wrote that because I lived through that. Like, why am I so frustrated? And he just, so the thing I picked up from Rich is when you can enter the conversation in your prospects' minds and have them say, wow, Harris is telling it better than I could, or Tellman's telling that. I feel that, but I can't even, I'm going through exactly that, but he's expressing it better, or she's expressing it better. When you can enter the conversation in your prospects' minds, it's game over. Like I get the frustration, I get the pain, I get the difficulty, I get the challenge. And guess what? I found this epiphany. I found this breakthrough it got me and many others out of there. And it's a magical thing. So yes, I have many free gifts and other systems at tombeal.com, TOMBEAL.com, whole bunch of other URLs and whatnot, but it's actually just a list of cool things that are helpful for you, all at tombeal.com. Yeah, I have some things. One of the things that now that I'm living in paradise, I have people come down for 3 to 5 days to spend time with me and sink in and actually go to yoga, go to the workouts, go to experience boating and all this other amazing things while we learn and talk about these situations in their own life. So that's one I really enjoy the most, but there's a whole bunch of other stuff.
But when people come down, the one requirement is you have to get a Tom Beal tattoo, right?
Exactly.
And wear a mankini if they're male.
That's right. Believe that. Believe.
Right.
Hey, sell me on yoga. I keep telling myself, I literally just bought a yoga mat to try to force myself to do it. Just sell me on it a little bit.
Wow. Yoga is so amazing in so many different ways. It's really getting in tune with as that controller of your body, like breathing, like the things we take for granted, breathing. And by the way, breathing is its own separate, you can do breath work outside of yoga. That's its own breath work, but breathing while you're doing yoga, when you do vinyasa yoga, you're doing it in a flow of, as you're breathing out and as you're breathing in, you're making specific movements. And sometimes you hold it for a breath in and breath out. And then as you move, the vinyasa flow goes with the breathing. So it's a real meditative, huge amounts of health benefits, but mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, it's a really incredible way to get yourself regrounded. And I would recommend finding some local places to check out. And there's a community aspect with that as well. And the community here is really good, which once a month, there's a breathwork thing. Once a month, there's a thing on the beach. So there's a whole bunch of cool things that also make it a social activity with people that, like we talked about, be careful who you surround yourself with. There's a lot of cool people in that group versus going to the bars, et cetera. Right. So,
well, there tend to, I mean, if you go to a yoga class, you're probably going to be surrounded by largely beautiful people that are exercising a lot, in great shape, and eat real healthy all the time, and have the time and the money available to go to yoga classes.
Correct.
You've definitely not been to my gym in the UK, Tellman, but they're all getting there. They're all trying to get there.
Even without the yoga classes locally, when I was doing 75 hard, I had to work out twice a day. And my outdoor workout was usually running. And so I would run every single day. And my indoor workout, at one point, I used a great rowing machine. It was awesome. But then I realized that I could do yoga for my second workout. And I used that to essentially counteract all of because I tend not to stretch very much. And I have chronic leg pain because I never used to stretch or need to stretch when I was a kid. When I was in high school or college, I could win races all the time without stretching, no problem. But now with my old man tendons, my legs are hurting all the time. So yoga, I found, if I was working out a lot with running, was the perfect counterbalance. Like yoga's freaking fantastic. And there are, like, you can just go on Amazon and get like a 30-day yoga series and do it once a day, and you're good, like easy.
Hey, one of you guys, your vibrator's going off. I don't know if this is an appropriate time for. I just heard somebody's phone was buzzing a bunch.
My phone was buzzing. Yeah.
Oh, okay, it's your phone. Okay, good. I don't know what you're doing now.
That's a good segue. Tom, this was awesome. Thank you so much.
Incredible.
Thanks for having me. I enjoyed our chat, and I appreciate both of you. I look forward to our paths crossing.
Likewise. Rock and roll. Well, guys, this has been a Tillman and Tillman Show, episode 13. Tune in Monday through Friday, roughly 9 a.m. on every channel imaginable. And
Tillman, we're getting organized. Who's tomorrow? Do you know who? We know who tomorrow's interview.
Paul Lemberg.
Paul Lemberg is our interview tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right. He's tomorrow. Yeah, we're actually planning over a day in advance now.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Really good. No,
we've got a few people already set up for next week as well. It's crazy. We're almost organized.
Love it.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
I want to point out that we don't even have a website yet for our show.
Perfect. And this just hit me. One of the things I'm helping people with is WebinarCon. That's like the elite, like choose who you surround yourself with, webinarcon.com. I'm helping Ron Douglas and Onyx and Gall with that. And that is it's kind of the old gathering of the elite marketers, but there's actually a whole bunch of new marketers there that you'll be talking to, and they're doing 3 million, 5 million. It's crazy.
When is it?
11/11 of this year. So shortly after the election in the United States in Orlando at the Ritz-Carlton.
Should be fun. And then I was just to say, I think it's in Orlando. So it's in Orlando at the Ritz.
Yep.
I can commute from my mama's house in Tampa.
There you go. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So it's not a normal. It's 11th, I think, is a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
And it's a bit of an application process to get in. You have to, right, or no? You have to have a webinar. Or can you be a newbie?
You got to know somebody.
You got to know somebody. No. Just webinarcon.com. They'll
take you. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
They'll take you.
They'll take you.
Awesome, guys. Rock and roll. Really, really good. Thank you, everybody, all of our viewers for tuning in. And thank you, Harris. Thank you, Tom, for another awesome episode.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Toodaloo.